Okay, guys. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am Senator Carol Liu, and I'm here with Senator Pavley, Senator Allen, and the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, to talk about a growing concern for our state, a California teacher shortage. The Learning Policy Institute recently released new evidence of this shortage and identified the most critical gaps. The problem is occurring across a range of subject areas, but it's most acute in math, science, and special education, which serves our most vulnerable students. The outlook across our state is bleak, and the graph here demonstrates that our enrollment in our California teaching preparation programs has declined from 2001 to 2014 by 76%. In 2012-13, the number of new credentials issued by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing dropped below projected district hires. With the future of our state and our students at stake, we cannot allow these trends to continue. So that's why today we are announcing a package of bills intended to address the looming teacher shortage and provoke more discussion and creative thinking on how to reinvigorate interest in the teaching profession. So I have a Senate Bill 915, which will reestablish the California Center for Teaching Careers. This very successful program from the late 90s was a victim of tough budget cuts made during the recession. And the Center for Teaching Careers, or CalTeach, will help recruit teacher candidates from colleges, other careers, and other states. And it will provide them with valuable information on how to become a teacher and facilitate entry into the profession. Specifically, CalTeach will help teacher candidates navigate the credentialing process, which can be complex and intimidating, and it will provide them with valuable information regarding financial aid and loan assistance programs. CalTeach will also help teachers find employment by identifying shortage areas throughout the state and working with school districts to recruit teachers and fill those positions. CalTeach is just one of several tools the state will need to recruit and retain quality teachers for our students. In a moment, you will hear from Senators Pavley and Allen, who also have introduced legislation to address the teacher shortage. But first, it's my pleasure to introduce State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson. Tom?
Thank you, Senator Liu. Thank you, Carol. And good morning. And this is truly an important press conference, an important package of bills to address a serious crisis in California, the teacher shortage. So I'm so glad that three senators are hosting this with great legislation to address the crisis that we see emerging and growing around the state of California. And each of the senators comes with background. Carol Liu, Berkeley grad like me, began teaching and was an administrator and teacher for 15 years in Richmond. I started my teaching in 1972 in Berkeley and Pittsburgh. And Ben Allen served on the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District Board, and Fran Pavley taught middle school for 28 years in Los Angeles and Ventura County. So these senators know from firsthand experience. I think all of us who have teachers in our family or know teachers know that it's an incredibly rewarding profession. It is satisfying. It is one of those jobs that you love to come to work because you love the kids and you love to teach. But the profession is taking a lot of hard hits in the last few years, the recession, the chaos of the hires and the layoffs, the uncertainty of budgets, the moving around. A lot of older brothers and sisters who might have gone into teaching saw their younger brothers and sisters sort of suffering through these rough times of the recession. So there are many reasons for the decline on the chart that Senator Liu shared with you. Another statistic I have is that in 2000 we had 32,000 teaching credentials issued. In the last few years it's been 16 or 17,000. So it's a 40 to 50% drop. And so while there are multiple reasons for it, there's also multiple strategies to address it. And as I travel across the state, this is increasingly a topic that principals, superintendents, school board members are talking to me about. What can we do? And we need to do something very positive to remind people of the great joys of the teaching profession, getting away from the bashing and blaming that goes on sometimes, and really talk about how you can contribute to a stronger society and having our kids reach their fullest potential. But this is a topic I just, last week, was at the Secessa conference, and the 58 superintendents of schools, to every single one of them is having this problem in their district, and it's across subject matters, subject areas, including especially the ones that Senator Liu mentioned. So I'm strongly behind Senator Liu's bill, AB 916, restarting CalTeach. Very much behind, of course, Fran Pavley's bill, the Apple program. She'll be telling you more about that. Glad to be a sponsor of that legislation. And Ben Allen's effort in his legislation to restart the California Teachers Corps. So we know we need to invest in the profession. We are blessed with strong budgets, a recovering economy. So it is an exciting time to get into the education field, a lot of change, but also a tremendous amount of opportunity. So I'm here to say I'm standing foursquare solid with the three senators and all others who will team up to help reduce this crisis in the teaching profession. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Fran Pavley, and most of you know me as chairing the Natural Resources and Water Committee, and you think, now, why am I here on behalf of education? Well, teachers are an endangered species. There's the link and connection, and I can attest to that. I taught, as Tom said, for 28 years middle school, which made me eminently well qualified to survive the state legislature. But also, my husband retired after 31 years of teaching middle school. During the 60s and 70s, when you went through these teacher credentialing programs, you didn't come out with any student loan debt from school. You could afford to be a classroom teacher. You weren't paying off a student loan for 20 years. I am introducing a bill that it provides one tool in order to attract perhaps more high school, college-age students into the teaching profession. If we do nothing, the amount of people going into teaching is going to continue to reduce. This chart is alarming. It should be alarming to you. You can put all the things you want into a classroom, passing bonds, you can build new facilities. How are you going to attract quality teachers? So AB 32 will establish a teaching forgiveness loan program. It's called the Apple program, and it's, SB 62. AB 32 is another bill. SB 62 is a teaching forgiveness loan program. It's called the Apple program, Apple with one P. I want to point out those of you spelling things out there. It's a loan forgiveness program. It actually means Assumption Program of Loans for Education. This program had been in effect for quite a few years in the state of California, and it was subject to cuts during the budget and recession. This would do a lot to help jumpstart the interest in a teaching profession. If you are investing 5 years in a college education, you are perhaps coming out with $20,000 to $30,000 student loan debt. That would mean when you start a teaching profession, maybe you're paid about $40,000 a year. Can you afford for the next 20 years to pay $1,000 a month for a loan forgiveness program? They will counsel you out of that profession. I think this is a problem and one of the opportunities we have to make sure that we have more people enlisting in a teaching credentialing program. I know at Cal State Northridge, near my district, which is one of the main schools in California to provide teaching credentialing programs, they've seen a drop of close to 75% of the number of students who are entering those programs. That is a problem, coupled with the fact that the teaching population is aging. 1/3 of the teaching workforce is 50 years old or older and will be retiring in the next 10 years. Where are we going to get those new classroom teachers who are going to stay there? So the Apple program will essentially help teachers or help students decide whether they can afford to be a teacher, and they can do that by retiring their loan forgiveness program in exchange for teaching in schools with a large number of disadvantaged students, or a rural school that's hard to fill the slots, or in subject matters that are very difficult to fill, math and science, and especially special education. So when you talk to superintendents in schools around the state today, they are struggling to find credentialed teachers. They are issuing emergency credentials right and left more often than not, especially in areas like special education. So again, back to the beginning of my program, why invest in all these things for the classroom if you aren't investing in the most important part of a classroom, and that's a quality teacher that's going to be committed not just for a few years, but for a lifetime of investing in our public school system. So SB 62, we have some information about it. I'm proud to say that this bill had passed the Senate. It's over in the Assembly. Co-authors, joint authors. It's a bipartisan bill. It's had no votes. It's politically popular. The businesses in my district are very supportive of this. They know that they need quality teachers back in the classrooms. Thank you very much, and I'd like to introduce Ben Allen, who has a third piece in the puzzle.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to the senators. Thank you to the superintendent and our three guests that will also be having an opportunity to speak. This is something that is particularly galling and frustrating for me as a former school board member who had to suffer through the terrible cuts that came down just a few years ago when we were laying people off. And now here we're in a situation where we've got a teacher shortage. And to some extent, some of the broader work that we're doing in terms of trying to create some more financial and fiscal stability and sanity to our state's budgetary system will also, I hope, help. But we've turned off a lot of people to teaching, and part of it is that we've made it far too unaffordable. That's what Senator Pavley is working so hard on. We've got to redouble our recruiting efforts, and that's part of what Senator Liu has been championing. Senator Liu hosted an extraordinary discussion just a couple weeks ago on the teacher shortage, and we learned all about these important issues and how much it's impacting our state and the ability of our school districts to hire on those great young teachers who we need. People also coming in mid-career who we need to help to reinvigorate and revitalize this extraordinarily important profession. So we've talked about the issue of affordability and recruitment. This next component has to do a little bit more with retention, mentorship, preparation. And SB 933 addresses this issue that we've been talking about by providing local school districts with funds that they need to recruit, train, and mentor, and then, of course, retain teachers through residency programs, teacher residency programs. And it will ensure that a new generation of teachers will be trained for success and establish a pipeline for these teachers to serve in high-need districts where the teacher shortage is most acute. So research indicates that underprepared teachers are more likely to leave the profession in the first 5 years, experiencing frustration and a lack of job satisfaction. Studies show that teachers in residency programs are 50% more likely to stay in the profession. And Professor Linda Darling-Hammond came and spoke very eloquently about this issue at the hearing. Teacher training and mentorship is particularly crucial to meeting the needs of a student population that is increasingly diverse, both ethnically, culturally, socioeconomically. And a recent study by the Learning Policy Institute that Professor Darling-Hammond worked on found that programs which allow novice teachers to teach in classrooms under the direction of a mentor teacher are linked to successful teachers who end up staying in the profession. And so this bill will provide local school districts with funding to create or expand teacher residency programs. Grants will fund a new teacher seeking a credential for up to 3 years or $30,000. Residents will apprentice alongside a mentor in a classroom serving low-income students for a full academic year while studying coursework from a partnering university and earning a living stipend. And in exchange, we will be requiring the teachers to commit to teach in the district for 4 years beyond their residency. So, there's going to be some serious continuity there. And one of the things we find is that, once teachers actually stick around for a little bit, they're much more likely to stay on longer. We lose so many teachers in the first 3 years, but if people are able to stay on beyond 3 years, they're so much more likely to stay in the profession, invest in the profession, and grow from within the profession. Let me also say, I think I'm the only Hispanohablante here, so I'm just going to pronounce. We've got some Spanish language media here and also some listening, and I've been asked to present the bill package in Spanish. So let me just say, hoy estamos juntos para enfrentar esta creciente escasez de maestros calificados en California. El Comité Senatorial de Educación de la senadora Liu tuvo una audiencia que reveló y demostró la gravedad de esta crisis. Distritos escolares han contratado un estimado 20,000 nuevos maestros para el próximo año escolar. Pero se ha visto un declive en estudiantes estudiando para ser maestros en las universidades, una caída en un 75% del año 2001 hasta 2014. Como resultado, los distritos escolares son cada vez más obligados a contratar a personas que no están preparados totalmente. Entonces, este paquete de proyectos de ley ayudará a los esfuerzos de reclutamiento en las universidades para alentar a los estudiantes a considerar ser un maestro, proporcionará un incentivo financiero para entrar en la profesión al perdonar los préstamos estudiantiles para los que enseñan 4 años en las escuelas con la mayor demanda de maestros calificados y fortalecerá la tutoría profesional para ayudar a los nuevos maestros a navegar las exigentes demandas de su nueva carrera. Hemos visto que los maestros nuevos que han sido entrenados por un mentor con experiencia son muchos más propensos a permanecer en la profesión para el largo plazo. Enseñándoles a los maestros cómo enseñar es una manera probada para garantizar que más estudiantes tengan un acceso a una educación de alta calidad. So it's our pleasure to be here today trying to address this extraordinary challenge that we face as policymakers. I have to speak on SB 933 and the other bills. We have Steve Barr, who's the founder of Green Dot School, CEO of The Future Is Now, and also Jennifer Thomas, who's the president of the San Jose Teachers Association. Then we'll also be hearing from the CFT. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Allen. As the Senator said, my name is Jennifer Thomas. I'm president of the San Jose Teachers Association, but in my heart, I'm the 15-year educator of English and English as a second language for the San Jose Unified School District. I'm just here to say thank you. I drove 2 hours for half an hour to stand with the state superintendent, our community partners, and these remarkable legislators to say thank you for listening to us. Over 300,000 teachers in the state of California have been begging for support and assistance as we see this terrible trend continue. This graph represents possibly thousands of children without a qualified educator in front of them, impacting not only their opportunities in the future, but also the economic, social opportunities of the Golden State. I'm so proud to stand here and say that these legislators are working and continue to work to ensure that we harness the innovative spirit of the most amazing state in the country to ensure that we again lead on the recruitment and retention of the most important profession, if I do say so myself. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to turn this over to Steve Barr.
It should be noted that my co-chair in building support for this is a union president, and I'm a charter school guy. So I think big issues, you need that kind of cooperation on something this big. And I'm also, I'm not going to go over the stats, I'm also, for full disclosure, a husband of a first-year LAUSD teacher. 26 weeks, not 26 years, but that means most mornings I wake up at 5 o'clock to some pretty good tears, and I think my wife will make it to the first year, but it will be because of the kids, but I think the tears come from the lack of thought on preparation, and we know how to do things new. I think learning from a master teacher, somebody from our generation of teachers, training the next generation of teachers, is a very thoughtful way. And I'm also rooting, Senator Pavley, for your bill because we have about a $50,000 bill to pay off from USC. But I'm very proud. This is a very Californian thing here for us to take this residency program, which a lot, if you ask teachers, they will tell you that would be the most beneficial way to be trained is under a master teacher, and I couldn't be prouder. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ron Rapp. I'm the Legislative Director for the California Federation of Teachers. The California Federation of Teachers believes that every child deserves a high-quality teacher. This teacher shortage could be devastating to a high-quality education in California. We are working on some ideas of our own to increase the number of teachers going into the classroom. You know, it's not just a question of recruitment. recruitment, it's also a question of retention. And there are a number of reasons why teachers leave the classroom. I'm a former teacher as well. I taught for 10 years in 3 states, and so I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and I know those reasons. Let me share a couple of other statistics with you. California has a 50% higher student-teacher ratio than any other state in the country at 24-1. It is estimated that California will need 60,000 additional teachers to maintain current student-teacher ratios. If we want to reduce that student-teacher ratio to 16-1, which is recommended, we would need 135,000 new teachers. 135,000. And the statistic that you heard here was that we have approximately 18,000 participants in teacher credentialing programs currently. It's a 76% drop in 12 years. And so it is a huge issue for us. In addition, and I talked about high quality teachers and the need for high quality teachers, in 2014-15, 40% of credentials awarded were to underprepared teachers. And with the implementation of new curricula, new assessments, new standards, we need highly qualified teachers in our classrooms. And so I'd like to commend these senators for bringing forth these bills, and we look forward to working with them to move them to passage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So as chair of the Senate Education Committee, I'm excited to be moving this package of bills with Senators Pavley and Allen, and we look forward to working with our colleagues on both sides of the houses to move what we call common sense legislation that will help rebuild the teaching profession, helping to ensure that our students really get and thrive in our classrooms and get what they need in order to be successful. So thank you for joining us today, and we're happy to take a few questions if you have any. Yes, sir.
Just a little bit of clarification on the loan forgiveness bill. It sounds like, I guess, if you work for 4 years in an ED district, you could get all your loans forgiven, or is it a certain percentage?
It could be a certain percentage of that, depending upon how much money. This is all about the budget. There is no one opposed to this concept. It's about putting money in the budget. So it could be a percentage of loans forgiven. It could be in exchange for teaching that 4 or 5 years, and Superintendent Torlakson is right, and Ben Allen and everyone else. You can have a teacher in a classroom for 4 to 5 years. They're probably in it for life. So it could be a percentage of the loans. Ideally, it would be most of the loans. We're one of the few states that don't have a teacher loan forgiveness program. And it's so critically important, especially when you see a chart like this. So this is not anecdotal evidence anymore. This is real life. So maybe not entirely, depends upon how much your loans are. In the past, we put up about $80 million a year back prior to 2011 when they were cut. And that was a loan forgiveness program that stretched for 4 years, $15 million a year or so rolled out. It's how many teachers you can fund, I suppose, and how many. It's $1 and cents, right? And it'll be based somewhat on need too.
Where a teacher could go into a district, be an apprentice, and then stick with that district for 4 or 5 years and get their loans at least partially forgiven.
Yeah, you know,
To kind of tie it all together.
there are a lot of teachers in the system, and we certainly, you know, don't anticipate that most people would be able to. It would be hard. Well, there's a lot of teachers in the system, and it's unclear as to whether the same teacher would be able to access both funds. They come out of different sources. One of the challenges I think that you know, Senator Pavley's had, and I'm incredibly supportive of her bill, is that it's general fund dollars, and that's just a difficult conversation in this building these days. But she's absolutely right. We're so far behind our competitor states on this issue of loan forgiveness, and yet it has to come out of general fund dollars. It cannot come out of Proposition 98.
Why can't it come out of 98?
Because it's not going to, it doesn't go to K through 12, it's K through 14 recipient. It's going to the universities, it's going to the students. So those are carved out. Those are not in Proposition 98. 98 is a very strict, only certain entities can receive Proposition 98 dollars.
So does this mean then that you this one of those priorities for the limited general fund?
That's exactly true, and we've all talked to Senator De Leon. We think he said, you know, let's introduce a package of bills. We get that this is an important issue, especially in those schools with disadvantaged kids that are struggling the most. You're putting the emergency credentialed teachers in there. You can spend all the money you want from your local control funding formula, but it's all about that teacher in the classroom. So I think it's a critical issue. Education is. And I'm hoping to have that same conversation with future Speaker Rendon, who's made investment in early childhood education a priority. But frankly, it is about downstairs and the administration making this a priority as well.
I think, if I can just add that I think it creates the justification is education. Education is the top priority. It is the key to a strong economy, to a strong society. The hundreds of millions of dollars of avoided costs by having youngsters succeed in school, have the resources they need, the qualified teachers they need. So I think the argument can be made, and the senators have made this before, that investing in these ways to help improve our outcomes and our quality of education is good for the state and will yield big dividends financially as well as socially.
I think it's a question over here. Yes.
Can you talk about short-term solutions, because rebuilding a system takes time. New legislations will take time also, but the system is suffering now.
One thing that we are also working on is a publicity campaign about the joys and satisfactions of teaching. So it's sort of a positive effort. We're gathering together financial support for that. That would be in the near term, within the next 6 months to 7 months.
And I will say there's a lot more money coming back into the pike for K through 12. The last 2 years we've seen significant increases in K through 12 funding, and that should at least send signals to potential new teachers that hope is back on the way in our school districts. So, you know, there's been an understanding, and it's absolutely correct, that school districts have been so tight up until the last couple of years, and finally there's some new money coming through, and most of that money will go into hiring teachers.
You have a question down here. Yes.
Hi, we're from the San Francisco Teacher Residency.
Yay. Well, there you go.
That you guys are putting forward. Are there any other ways that maybe current teachers or other residencies can partner with you or sort of help you push this along quickly?
We'd always love support, yeah, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I know LA Unified has a program too that's similar to the residency program.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. We need people to get out and encourage our colleagues to vote for these measures, to co-author these measures, to get engaged in this bill package. We need to really start beating the drum about this problem. We know the problem exists. The committee is very aware of this problem. We need to make sure that everybody in this building is as aware as we are of what a crisis we have on our hands. And that involves both engaging your colleagues in the teaching community, the advocacy community, school board members. We've got to build more of an advocacy community and consensus to start moving this building to address this extraordinarily important problem.
I think there's a question over here. The program, as I understand it, was very effective, and there was, it solved some of the teaching crisis, and it was discontinued simply because of budget cuts. And so we're just simply reintroducing it. It was one of the programs that was called out in the Learning Policy Institute's recommendations, and so we are moving forward with this, just reinstating the program. Yes.
As you know, in the state of California, 37% of the population is Latino, and in the public schools, 51% is Latino. And in this collapse of teacher preparation, the collapse of Latino teachers was 4 times worse than what you've got up there. Right? The programs preparing teacher preparation have been closed down in the state university system. So I'm wondering if you have any bills to deal with the fact that you're going to prepare teachers for a teacher shortage to serve teachers, but not Latino kids.
Well, it is something, I mean, I think these programs that we're trying to push do not have an ethnic or racial signature on any of them, and it's up to all of us to try to recruit those kids that are best reflect teachers to best reflect the students that they're going to be teaching. So it's, you know, we didn't put unless somebody else is going to carry more legislation that's going to be directed to a particular group of folks, we didn't put that as part of our package. But we are certainly going to make sure that we're going to be inclusive.
Well, and what came
an
up
opportunity.
at the hearing
Right.
was that something like 75% of new teachers are from first generation
Right. Yes.
college-going families. So a program like Senator Pavley's, a program like Senator Liu's, a program like mine, will disproportionately help Latino young people working up the ranks to come teach. They're oftentimes the ones who are most impacted by the affordability and retention issues that we've been talking about today. So they make up an extraordinarily large part of the pie that we're hoping will be coming into the teaching profession.
And we're putting, if I may add,
You want to say that in Spanish?
Yeah, well, let me know.
if I may add, that we're working in the Department of Education with superintendents, with the new state collaborative on excellence in education, to develop the best practices, best ways to help English learners succeed quickly, reclassify as proficient in the English language. So we're doing that, and then we're also working and trying to encourage. Remember, part of the solution is the local districts have more money in their LCAPs. They have a lot of needs for that money. But one of the areas that we've seen really successful are student academies in high school. Spring Valley High School down in the Cal San Bernardino area in that district has 30 students in 3 different classes, 90 students who are going through to become teachers, and they're practice teaching when they're juniors and seniors in high school. Liberty High School in Brentwood, California is doing the same thing, and guess what? Those students come from the community, and guess what? When they graduate and they get their teaching credential, where do they go? They go back, and they're disproportionately representing minorities and those who need help.
So-
You want to kind
Yes.
of translate
Okay,
what
so
you had in
I'll
Spanish?
say that comment in Spanish. Senator Pavley wants to say something, and also I think Steve Barr has some interesting things to say about veterans recruitment along the lines of your question as well. So teníamos una audiencia para estudiar este fenómeno, esta crisis que tenemos en la cuestión del reclutamiento de los maestros. Y es que lo que descubrimos es que como 75% de la población de nuevos maestros vienen de familias nuevas, familias primera generación para asistir universidad. Es decir, que la gran mayoría de los nuevos maestros van a venir de la comunidad latina, van a venir de nuestras familias inmigrantes. Es una de las profesiones que realmente atrae a las primeras generaciones de estudiantes, de jóvenes que van a la universidad y quieren compartir sus enseñanzas, sus experiencias y ganar un poquito de dinero y ganar una profesión. Es decir, que esta propuesta de ley que tiene que ver con reclutamiento y retención va a ayudar mucho a nuestros jóvenes latinos. Déjame pasar a Fran Pavley y después a Steve Barr.
Antes que pase con ellos,
Sí.
en español también,
Sí, claro.
esos maestros de las nuevas generaciones,
Sí.
obviamente pues quieren mejor paga, quieren trabajar para las escuelas donde ellos se sientan más cómodos, pero hay escuelas donde nuestra comunidad sufre, donde no tienen el budget o el presupuesto, donde viven en pobreza. Esos maestros de nuevas generaciones, o sea, de las más jóvenes, no quieren llegar a esas escuelas, no quieren trabajar para esas escuelas, sino para las que están arriba. ¿Cómo convencerlos de que ellos van a trabajar para las escuelas que realmente lo necesitan?
Sí.
En español.
Sí, no, muy buena pregunta. Hemos cambiado cómo financiamos a nuestras escuelas. Entonces, antes teníamos un programa en donde cada distrito recibió su dinero por cada estudiante. Ahora estamos dando más dinero, mucho más dinero a los distritos, a las escuelas con más pobreza, con más problemas, con más gente en pobreza. Entonces, vamos a ver más recursos para estas escuelas. Y nosotros esperamos que va a cambiar la situación un poco. Que con esos mejores recursos podemos atraer y convencer a la nueva generación de latinos de que ahora somos comprometidos a la inversión y al mejoramiento de esas escuelas que han sufrido tanto en el pasado. Pero sí es cierto que seguimos siendo con muchos problemas, con muchos retos, pero con esos nuevos recursos, ojalá que podamos cambiar la situación y la conversación sobre la pobreza y su conexión con recursos en escuelas.
Real briefly, one of the discussions that's been going on that isn't part of these package of bills, but this isn't the end of the discussion. We, of course, welcome other parts of this, is to do a better way of reaching out to the teacher shortage by starting in our community colleges. Community colleges generally reflect the ethnic diversity in the neighborhoods where kids are going to live and can relate to the students, speaking the same languages, etc. So how about a smooth transition where you begin your teacher classes in your first 2 years at community college? Community colleges are affordable. You won't have 5 years of student loan debt. You will only have 3. And then with the direct transfer right into the CSU system, the one that's closest to that area, that would help facilitate perhaps making sure that the teachers reflect the makeup of the schools they're going to be teaching in, which I think is important for role models and everything else. I think that would do a lot. Another thing that LAUSD, I believe, is experimenting is an academy on like Cal State Northridge campus, where one of their 3 focus areas is in teacher credentialing programs. So as you go to high school, you are already being exposed to becoming a teacher. That would do a lot, and that's helping find places for teachers that graduate from Cal State Northridge right back into the LAUSD system. So those are 2 concepts and opportunities.
Sure. My apologies to my friends from San Francisco and my friend Jen Thomas from San Jose and Northern Californians. When the 4th inning, when you go to my beloved Dodger Stadium, they always introduce a veteran, and they tell a story. And it's usually a young Latino, a young African-American veteran, and usually about 30 seconds in, I'm just bawling. And the whole time I'm thinking, God, how can you attract that person into the classroom? Where in urban core nationally, less than 2% of teachers are men of color. And so one of the big targets at the beginning would be a troops to classroom. We've had a lot of conversations with those folks about inspiring them. They're steeped in structure, technology, teamwork, and how do we make that, and they want to continue to serve, how do we make that returning veteran consider becoming a teacher? One of the things we've also talked about with some of our coalition civil rights group members, which is this summer, if we can get this bill passed and signed, go do a tour, a bus tour to universities and to military bases to go recruit the First Corps, instead of just putting it up and hoping somebody sees a PSA late at night. We have to do that too, but we got to go out and make this great.
Thank you.
Can I ask real quick,
Sure.
it wasn't too long ago that we saw, 20,000 pink slips
That's right.
of teachers.
That's part of it.
Obviously,
That's part
there
of the
are a lot
problem.
of people out there who, in theory, are trained and are, ready to go back into the classroom. What efforts are being done to see if any of them are interested in coming back?
Well, again, many teachers left and they went on to other careers or they went on to retirement. One of the things we are looking at is also how to have experienced teachers who still have the fire stay on longer and not retire as early. So there are a number of programs also to help mid-career. Senator Allen mentioned that. We want to see those people who maybe they're 50 years old, they have 15 years left of good professional life, and they want to contribute, they want to be part of the solution to helping our kids be successful. So those are a couple of programs that touch on that. It's been difficult, and it's really going to need a recruitment process that reaches in, whether it's veterans or to career changers currently employed. The field is very much needing that kind of input.
And what about, the young teachers you're trying to attract, they come in, but because of last in, first out, they would, in theory, be the first ones to go. And maybe they don't make it to 4 years if we hit another recession. I mean, there's no, the rainy day fund for schools is still kind of coming into existence. It hasn't started yet. School districts are going to have their own reserves capped.
Right.
There seems like there's a fair amount of uncertainty, even getting to the 4-year point. If you're a prospective teacher and you're taking on student loans.
Well, one of the things these three senators are doing and this bill package is doing is talking about support. You know, having strong mentorship programs, having this residency type program is a sure formula for greater success in retaining teachers. And then the governor and legislature did put in $490 million for professional development for teachers and administrators. That's going to be helpful, and more infusions so that teachers, when they're in the mid-arc of their career, they may need support. They may need help in grasping and working with technology and computers, that the professional development is there. So one big message I hear from these three senators, let's invest in professional development and give teachers the support and mentor and help them, and they'll stay longer and they'll make a life career out of this.
That is on the 98 side, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Hey, Tom.
Yeah.